On this day in 2017, the president of Zimbabwe, President Robert Mugabe, stepped down. He ruled the country for more than 3 decades. Emerson Mnangagwa became Mugabe's successor after returning from South Africa following a fallout with Robert Mugabe. Now, for more on what this day means and what developments have occurred since they were joined now by author and journalist Hopewell. Hopewell, a very good evening to you. So take me back to this day. Where were you specifically? Did the announcement come as a surprise?
When the coup happened, I was in the United Kingdom. I was surprised because we never thought that Emerson Mnangagwa and the military would do a coup to remove their long-time leader Robert Mugabe, because they'd taken they've done a lot of things together. I mean, from the 80s with Gukura Hundi to 2006 Murambachina, post-election violence in 2008, the rigging of elections, the looting of public funds. So they've done a lot together. So it took people by surprise, because we never thought that it would happen in Zimbabwe and, more importantly, in Southern Africa and be accepted.
What I found quite intriguing when the SABC was covering the elections, then we're speaking to people in Harare, particularly in Bulawayo. It was interesting to hear those who are not even ZANU-PF supporters saying, give Emerson Mnangagwa a chance. He could be the change that we're hoping for. What do you think is the political climate now? Do those people still stand by that? Or, as some authors suggested, that they've gone from the pan into the fire, so to speak?
Well, I'm one of those people that thought that nobody could be worse than Robert Mugabe. The bar had been set so low, it was on the floor. So you could only go up. But surprisingly, as you correctly put it, we jumped out of a frying pan into a fire. There was a lot of international goodwill that was ready to see Zimbabwe do well. The region, including your own country, South Africa, were ready to participate in seeing Zimbabwe do well. But unfortunately, the new government of Emerson Mnangagwa, assisted by the military, they've really regressed. To give you an idea of how bad things are, the World Bank says that poverty has gone up. It's now at 50%. 7.9 million Zimbabweans don't get 3 square meals. They go to bed on empty stomachs. The economy has contracted by 16% since the removal of Robert Mugabe from power. And inflation has gone up from 3% in 2017, the day Robert Mugabe was removed. Right now, it's at about 55%. So all those people that you mentioned, including myself, we were greatly disappointed by the failure of the Emerson Mnangagwa regime and by the president himself, his failure to do things that were so simple, like align the laws to the new constitution, which came into place in 2013, to stop repression, to stop the looting of public funds in the plan of the nation's natural resources. There has never been frenzied looting like we've seen post the Mugabe era. Billions of dollars are being stolen.
Hopewell, what about the media climate? How is that for you and other journalists? Did it at any point change? Was there some amount of freedom? And I know the irony is me asking you this with regards to what you've experienced, but was there ever a time where there was hope for change? And how would you describe it now?
Personally, I've suffered more as a journalist under Emerson Mnangagwa than under Robert Mugabe. Robert Mugabe's security services used to harass me, but I've never been subjected to bogus arrests and put in front of captured judiciary that will see evidence where there's none and thrown into prison. I've spent 85 days in prison after having been arrested 3 separate times, in July 2020, in July again in November, after I'd exposed that the president's niece had been sort of given a corrupt arrangement where she was going to get bail unopposed. I was arrested on the 8th of November this year in 2021 for something I did not do using a law that did not exist. At least with Mugabe, you would go and make a law, although it was draconian, you would then come back and say that you've broken the law. But if you look largely at what has been happening during the Mugabe era and now, nothing has really changed. Things have gotten worse in terms of the media. Journalists are routinely thrown into prison. Although under Mugabe, some terrible things happened as well. As you would know, that there was a journalist, Itai Zamara, who was abducted, never to be seen again.
I need to ask this question. I hope we're running out of time, but I think it's a very important question to ask, particularly because you and I were speaking about it. The acrimony, the blowback that Zimbabweans who are in South Africa get. If you were to explain to the ordinary man on the street in South Africa about the quality of life of Zimbabweans, how is it post-Mugabe? Because there's some, just reading social media, some people keep saying, why don't you go back home to Zimbabwe? Mugabe is long gone. How do you explain that?
Well, Mugabe was a spokesperson for a system. The system remains. In fact, the people that were driving the system from behind Robert Mugabe are now in charge. The brutality is now worse. But I do understand South Africans and their economic issues. It's a normal thing in any society. When an economy is contracting, people will start looking for scapegoats. And it's also correct that when you have a lot of illegal immigrants in your country, it puts pressure on the economic system itself. But for you to have an understanding of how things are in Zimbabwe, I have always given this example that 2,500 women die every year in Zimbabwe trying to give birth. The biggest hospital in Zimbabwe only has 2 maternity theaters. One is working. They were built by Ian Smith in 1977. And ZANU-PF has not built a single maternity theater at the biggest hospital in Zimbabwe. So when you find women who are afraid of dying whilst they're pregnant coming to South Africa, you must understand that this is the background. But in order for South African viewers to understand how ludicrous the situation is, a maternity theater costs $37,000 to build. A Land Cruiser will cost the same amount of 15 maternity theaters. And yet the government of Zimbabwe, the government of Emerson Mnangagwa, buys hundreds of Land Cruisers. So it's not that we do not have the resources. The resources are there. It's not because of sanctions that this government always uses as a scapegoat. It's because that public funds are being looted, money is being misappropriated, and highly incompetent people are in charge of the state.
Hopewell, thank you so much for that. Hopewell Chiona is a journalist and author speaking to us about the anniversary of Zimbabwe's former president, Robert Mugabe, stepping down on this day.